Late at night, my phone buzzed in the dead silence of the dark. I opened my eyes, heart pounding when I saw the caller's name. Linda, my best friend's mom. Her voice trembled through the line. Mike, someone's trying to break into my house. I'm so scared. In an instant, I bolted upright. No time to think. A night that seemed so ordinary suddenly became a turning point that changed everything. Can you guess what was waiting for me? I'm Mike, 24 years old, living a simple life in a small American town. The name of the town doesn't matter much, just know it's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. And news spreads like wildfire. I work in IT, fixing computers and handling tech issues for a local company. It's not the most exciting job, but it's steady. My days start with a cup of black coffee, sitting in front of a computer screen, and end with a simple dinner at my small apartment. Sometimes it's a night of gaming or binge-watching TV, then off to bed. Simple, quiet, just the way I like it. But don't get me wrong, I'm not a recluse. I've got friends, and my best buddy is Ethan. We've been tight since high school, bonded over pickup basketball games and late-night gaming sessions. Ethan's the kind of guy who brings energy to any room, always laughing and pulling me out of my comfort zone. Back in junior year, we once snuck out to the school court at midnight, just to shoot hoops under the moonlight, cracking up when the ball sailed into the bushes. Those are the memories I hold dear. Ethan's house was like a second home to me. I remember afternoons after school, sprawled in their living room, munching on cookies Linda baked while we argued about the latest video game. Linda Effen's mom always stood out to me. She's 41, divorced, and lives alone since Effen moved to the city for a new job 2 years ago. Linda's got this understated beauty, not flashy, but enough to turn heads. Her auburn hair's always tied back neatly, and her green eyes have this depth, like they're hiding a story she's never told. She's always been calm and kind, but I've noticed a flicker of sadness in her eyes, especially when she thinks no one's watching. I remember one time, senior year, when Ethan and I were debating our big plans for the future. Ethan wanted to be an engineer. I was dreaming of becoming a software developer. Linda smiled, poured us more lemonade, and said, "You boys will do great things. Just don't let your dreams lead you astray." Back then, I thought it was just typical mom advice. Looking back, I hear something more in her voice, like she was speaking from her own hard-earned lessons. My relationship with Linda has always been friendly but respectful. She's Ethan's mom, family in a way. I've always admired her, never letting my thoughts wander too far. To me, Linda's part of my childhood memory as a dependable adult who showed up with warmth and quiet encouragement. I never imagined things between us would shift. Our town is small and peaceful, tree-lined streets, wooden houses with white picket fences, and birds chirping every morning. I like the calm, but sometimes it feels lonely. My apartment's just a one-bedroom with a cluttered desk, an old computer monitor, and a worn-out couch. At night, when the TV's glow is the only light, I've gotten used to the quiet. Maybe Linda and I have more in common than I realized. We both live with loneliness, just in different ways. Ethan's in the city now, working for a tech company and rarely coming home. We keep in touch through texts or quick calls. "How's it, Hongy and Mike still glued to your computer?" He'll tease, and I'll fire back about him living it up in the city. But every time we talk, I ask about Linda. "Mom's fine," he'll say. "She worries too much though." I nod, but deep down, I've always sensed Linda's not as okay as Ethan thinks. Linda lives alone in a cozy 2-story house on the edge of town. It's got a small garden full of flowers she tends to daily. I've stopped by a few times since Ethan left, mostly to fix her computer or set up her Wi-Fi router. Each time she'd insist I stay for coffee, and we'd chat about small things, the weather, a new movie. Those talks were short, polite, but they always left me with a warm feeling. Once, she told me about planting a new rosebush in her garden, her eyes lighting up as she described it blooming. That's when I think she's happiest. But behind her smile there's an emptiness. She rarely talks about herself, about what she feels or wants. Maybe that's why I've always seen her as a closed book, full of pages no one's allowed to read. I respect that and never push. To me, Linda's a strong woman, but lonely in a way only those who've lived alone for a long time can understand. I never thought a late-night call would change everything. My life, simple as it was, had a familiar rhythm. But when my phone lit up at 2 a.m. with Linda's name, everything flipped upside down. My heart raced, not from sleepiness, but from a gut feeling something was wrong. Linda's not the type to call for no reason, especially at this hour. I answered, voice groggy. "Hello." Her trembling voice hit me like a shockwave, shattering the calm of my life. I bolted out of my apartment, grabbing a jacket and my keys. My mind was a mess, but one thing was clear: Linda was in danger. I floored it, my old car screeching through the empty streets. Her house was only 10 minutes away, but every second felt like forever. Picturing her alone in that dark house made my chest tighten. What if something happened? What if I was too late? I shook my head, pushing away the worst thoughts, focusing on the road. Outside, the night was pitch black, with only faint streetlights cutting through. I imagined Linda curled up in her bedroom, listening to every strange noise. She'd mentioned hearing glass shatter. What did that mean? A burglar, something worse. I didn't dare think further. I just knew I had to get there. Stay calm. Linda, I muttered, as if she could hear me. I'm coming. As I turned onto her street, my hands gripped the wheel so tight, my knuckles turned white. Her house came into view, dark except for a weak porch light. I cut the engine, stepped, my breath heavy. Then I saw it, the window by the front door, now a jagged hole. Shattered glass glinted under the light, like fallen stars. My heart pounded harder. This was real. Someone had broken in. I moved quietly, trying not to make a sound. My mind raced, with questions. Was the intruder still inside? Were they armed? I'm just an IT guy, not a cop or a hero. But Linda was counting on me, and I couldn't let her down. My hand touched the front door's handle, ice cold. It creaked open, unlocked. A chill from inside hit me, carrying a sense of dread. The house was dark, silent. I held my breath, stepping slowly, listening for anything. The quiet was suffocating, but I felt something off, like the air itself was wrong. The floorboards creaked under my weight, a small sound that made me flinch. Linda, I called softly, barely a whisper, afraid the intruder might hear. No answer at first. I swallowed hard, moving toward the stairs. Mike. A faint voice came from upstairs, shaky but unmistakably Linda's. I'm up here, in the bedroom. Relief hit me, but only a little. She was alive, safe for now. I hurried up the stairs, stepping lightly to avoid noise. Her bedroom door was half open. I pushed it, seeing her curled up on the bed in thin pajamas, hair messy, face pale with fear. Her eyes gleamed with panic, like a trapped animal. Linda, you okay? I asked quietly, scanning the room for anyone else. She shook her head, clutching herself like she was holding herself together. No, I'm not hurt, but I heard him. After the glass broke, there were footsteps downstairs. He's still here, Mike. Her voice quivered, almost breaking. Seeing her like that sparked a mix of anger and helplessness. She didn't deserve this. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. It's gonna be okay, I said, though I wasn't sure myself. Have you called the police? She shook her head, eyes wide. I was too scared to make a sound. I nodded, pulling out my phone and dialing 911. My voice was low but clear as I spoke to the dispatcher. There's a break-in at 47 Maple Street, windows smashed, and we hear someone in the house. Please hurry. The dispatcher assured me help was on the way. I hung up, time crawling by. Suddenly a thud came from downstairs, like something being dropped. Linda flinched, eyes locked on the door, hands gripping the blanket. I stood, instincts kicking in, stepping in front of her like a shield. Stay quiet, I whispered, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it. I'm no hero, but right then, I knew I had to protect her. Every second dragged like an hour. I heard rummaging bellow drawers being yanked, objects shifted. The intruder was still there, unaware we were upstairs. I clutched my phone, ready to call again if needed. Linda sat frozen, barely breathing, her eyes never leaving me. I felt her trust, and it made me stronger and terrified. If anything happened, I'd never forgive myself. Thankfully, blue and red lights flashed outside, cutting through the dark. Sirens wailed, close and clear. I heard hurried footsteps downstairs, then police shouting, "Police! Freeze!" There was a scuffle, sharp commands, then silence. A soft knock came at the bedroom door. "Ma'am, it's safe now," a calm voice said. "We've got him." Linda let out a shaky breath, like a weight had lifted. I led her downstairs, where the police had a man in tattered clothes, his head bowed in shame. "Just a petty thief," an officer explained. "Looking for quick cash, didn't expect anyone home." We answered some questions, gave statements, and the police left, leaving the house in a tense quiet. Linda was still trembling, her eyes scanning the room like it wasn't hers anymore. I stood there, unsure what to say, knowing the air in Linda's house felt heavy. She stood in the living room, staring at the glass shards still scattered on the floor, like they were proof her safety was gone. I watched her, noticing her hands trembling slightly, though she tried to hide it by hugging herself. "Linda, you okay?" I asked, my voice soft but worried. She nodded, but her eyes told a different story. The fear lingered, uninvited. "Are you sure you'll be okay alone tonight?" I asked, standing by the broken window, feeling the cold breeze slip through. Linda hesitated, her gaze drifting to the dark outside, then back to me. "Honestly, Mike, I'm not sure," she whispered, her voice so quiet I had to lean in to hear. "If it's not too much, could you stay just for tonight?" I nodded instantly, no hesitation. "Of course, I'm not going anywhere." I checked the front door, locked everything tight, and used an old board from the garage to cover the broken window. Each hammer strike felt like an attempt to rebuild some sense of security for Linda. When I finished, I turned to see her on the couch, holding a mug of tea she wasn't drinking, her eyes distant. "Thank you, Mike," she said, her voice hoarse. "I don't know what I'd have done without you." I gave a small smile. "Ethan would have done the same for me. It's what friends do." Linda nodded, but I caught a flicker in her eyes, gratitude, but something deeper, like she was seeing me in a new light. I pushed the thought away, telling myself I was imagining things. That night, Linda set up Ethan's old room for me. It still smelled of old paint and teenage memories, a few gaming posters on the walls. a worn-out armchair. I lay down, but sleep didn't come easy. The image of Linda trembling in her room kept replaying, mixed with the sound of breaking glass and strange footsteps. I wondered if she was really okay. The next morning I woke early to birds chirping outside. Linda was already in the kitchen, making coffee, but her eyes were tired, dark circles betraying a sleepless night. "Get any sleep?" I asked, sitting at the table. She shook her head, offering a weak smile. "Not much." Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the glass breaking. I nodded, understanding that feeling. "I'll stick around a few days." "Okay, until Ethan gets back." Linda looked at me, her eyes softening. "You don't have to, Mike, but I'm so grateful." Ethan called that morning, his voice thick with worry when he heard about the Bracken. "I'm stuck here with work," Mikey said over the phone. "Can you stay with Mom? Just a couple days?" I reassured him things were under control, but I knew Linda needed more than that. I brought my laptop over, working remotely from the kitchen table while Linda quietly went about her routine. She cleaned, watered her plants, but every small sound like a branch tapping the window made her jump. I decided to take action. That morning, I drove to the hardware store, bought new glass and tools to fix the window. As I pried off the temporary board, Linda stood nearby holding a coffee mug, watching me work. "You don't have to do all this, Mike," she said, but I just grinned. "I like keeping busy, keeps my mind off things." She nodded, then brought out a plate of homemade cookies. "Thank you," she said, her voice warmer than the day before. I shrugged, biting into a cookie. "These are amazing, Linda. It should open a bakery." She laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard since the break-in. "You always know how to make me smile." We chatted for a bit, about little things like how she learned to bake from her mum, or the time I crashed my company's server by hitting the wrong key. Those stories were light, but they eased the tension. Linda started to relax, even just a little. By afternoon, I added new locks to the front and back doors and ordered a simple security camera system online. As I set it up on my laptop, Linda leaned over, curious. "You make this look so easy," she said. I chuckled. "Just a few clicks, but now you'll see anyone who comes near the house." She nodded, her eyes brightening. "You're making me feel safer, Mike, really." That evening, Linda cooked a simple dinner: spaghetti with homemade marinara. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the warm glow of the lamp lighting her face. For the first time, I noticed how young she looked for her age, despite faint lines around her eyes. The meal was quiet, but not awkward. "Do you like living in this town, Mike?" she asked suddenly, setting down her fork. I thought for a moment. "I like the peace, but sometimes it feels empty." "You?" Linda stared at her plate. Like, the answer was hidden in the pasta. "Same. When Ethan left, this house felt bigger than I expected. I keep busy, but some days it's just me in the garden." Her voice trailed off, carrying a sadness I hadn't noticed before. I wanted to say something comforting but just nodded. "I get it. Quiet can make you feel alone." She looked up, her eyes meeting mine, and in that moment, I felt a wordless connection, not just friendship, not quite something else, but an understanding between two people who know emptiness. We didn't say more, just ate in silence. But I knew something had shifted that night. The days after the break-in, Linda and I fell into a strange but natural rhythm. I worked on my laptop in Ethan's old room, the sound of typing blending with birdsong from the garden. Linda moved through the house, doing her usual tasks: watering plants, cleaning the kitchen, but I noticed she stayed close to me. Sometimes she'd bring me a glass of lemonade, setting it down with a soft smile. "You're working too hard, Mike," she'd say. I'd grin back, just trying not to tick off my boss, but I knew we were both avoiding something. The break-in left an invisible scar in the house, but it also opened a door I wasn't sure I wanted to step through. Linda started sharing more, not just small talk. One afternoon, as I installed another security camera on the porch, she sat in a rocking chair, holding a mug of tea, and talked about life after Ethan moved out. "You know," she said, staring into the distance, "when he left, I thought I'd be fine. I had work, the garden, but the evenings, they're longer than I expected." I paused, looking at her. "You never told Ethan?" She shook her head, a sad smile crossing her face. "I didn't want him to worry. He's got his own life now." I nodded, feeling a strange kinship. "I get it. My apartment's the same. Small, but sometimes it feels too big." Linda looked at me, her eyes soft, like she was really seeing me, not just Ethan's friend, but someone who understood loneliness. That night, we watched an old comedy on TV. The screen's glow lit up Linda's face, highlighting the faint lines by her eyes. She laughed hard when the main character spilled coffee everywhere, and I realized I was watching her more than the movie. Midway through, she yawned, then accidentally leaned her head on my shoulder, eyes fluttering shut. I froze, heart racing. Her breathing was soft, warm, and I didn't dare move, afraid to wake her. In that moment, I felt a rush of something unfamiliar. I'd always respected Linda, kept my distance, but this closeness threw me off. I told myself it was just a moment. She was tired, scared from the break-in, but deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. Something in me was changing, and I wasn't sure I could stop it. When the movie ended, Linda stirred, startled when she realized she was leaning on me. "Oh, Mike, I'm sorry," she said, cheeks flushing as she sat up. "I didn't mean to fall asleep," I smiled, trying to keep things light. "No worries, Linda, you were tired." "I don't mind," she smiled back, but her eyes darted away, like she felt something off too. "Thank you, Mike, not just for tonight but for everything," she said, her voice sincere. I just nodded, afraid to say more, scared my feelings would spill out. The next few days, we kept up our routine, but a subtle tension crept in. Linda started paying more attention to me. She made toast for breakfast, asked what I liked for dinner. I couldn't stay oblivious anymore. Every time she smiled, every time our eyes met a little too long, my heart sped up. I tried to keep my distance, reminding myself she was Ethan's mom, that I was here to help, but my heart wasn't listening. One night I woke to a small cry. My heart jumped, thinking of the break-in. I rushed to Linda's door, knocking softly. "Linda, you okay?" A pause, then her voice faint. "Mike, come in." I opened the door, finding her on the bed, hair messy, eyes red. "I dreamed about that night," she said, voice trembling. "The glass breaking, the footsteps, it felt so real." I stepped closer, sitting on the edge of the bed, unsure what to do. "You're safe now," I said, trying to sound calm. "It was just a dream." She shook her head, hugging herself. I saw him at the door. "Mike, I'm scared I'll never shake this feeling." Without thinking, I reached out, squeezing her hand gently. "You're not alone, I'm here." Linda looked at our hands, then squeezed back, like she was holding onto a lifeline. "Sorry for waking you," she whispered. "I just didn't want to be alone." I shook my head. "Don't apologize. I'm glad I'm here." In a reckless moment, I pulled her into a gentle hug. She hesitated, then relaxed, resting her head on my chest. I felt her breathing, heard my own heartbeat. This wasn't just comfort. There was something deeper, and I knew she felt it too. She pulled back slowly, wiping her eyes. "I'm okay now," she said, her voice small but firm. "Thank you, Mike." I nodded, standing, feeling awkward. "I'm right down the hall if you need me," I said, then left. Back in bed, I couldn't sleep. The warmth of holding her lingered, comforting, right, but dangerous. I wondered, were we going too far? And if we were, passed in a strange mix of ease and tension. Each morning, I woke in Ethan's old room, hearing her quietly making coffee downstairs. We'd settled into a rhythm. I worked on my laptop. She tended her garden, or cooked, but there was a quiet between us, like we both knew something needed saying. Ethan called, saying work would keep him a few more days. I felt a mix of relief and worry. Relief to stay, worry about what I was feeling. Linda changed, too. She smiled more, but sometimes I caught her looking at me, hesitating, then looking away. Once, while I fixed an outlet in the living room, she brought out toast, setting it down. "Take a break, Mike. You're always working." I grinned, wiping sweat off my forehead. "You take better care of me than my own mom." She laughed, but the smile faded fast, like she was wrestling with something. One evening, after a simple dinner of grilled chicken and mashed potatoes, Linda stepped onto the porch, where the yellow light cast a warm glow into the night. I was washing dishes in the kitchen but felt a pull to join her. She stood by the railing, staring into the dark garden, holding a cold mug of tea. "Beautiful night," she said, her voice soft as the breeze. I stood beside her, breathing in the cool air. "Yeah, it is. But something tells me you're not out here just to stargazy." Linda turned, her eyes searching mine, like she was looking for something. I took a breath, heart pounding. "Linda, I need to tell you something," I started, my voice shaky. "This isn't easy, but I have to be honest." She tilted her head, her expression serious. "Go ahead, Mike. You know I'm listening." I swallowed hard, feeling like I was at the edge of a cliff. "These past few weeks, staying here with you, I've realized I have feelings for you. Not just friendship, not just gratitude. Real feelings. I tried to ignore them, because of Ethan, because of the respect I have for you, but I can't pretend anymore." The words spilled out, like water breaking through a dam. I looked at her, waiting, heart thumping. Linda went quiet, her eyes wide, reflecting the porch light. She turned away, staring at her mug, fingers gripping the handle tightly. "Mike," she began, her voice soft but clear. "I don't know what to say. It's unexpected." I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. "I know it complicates things. I just needed you to know, whatever happens." She took a deep breath, like she was searching for words in the air. "Honestly, I felt something too," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "but I'm not sure what it is. You're Ethan's friend, Mike. There's a line there, a big one, and I'm used to being on my own." I nodded, a mix of relief and weight settling in. "I get it. I'm not pushing. I just wanted you to know, and if you need time, I'll wait." Linda smiled, a small but genuine smile. "Thank you for being honest. That means more to me than you know." We stood there a moment, silent, just the hum of crickets in the garden. The tension between us eased, replaced by a new understanding. I knew, without saying it, that we were both on a fragile edge. The days after, Linda softened. She laughed, more icily sometimes, brushing my arm when she handed me a drink, but still kept a distance. I did too, careful not to cross the line. We talked more about small things and deeper ones, like when she opened up about life after her divorce, learning to live alone. I thought I was strong, she said, eyes distant. But some nights I just wanted someone to talk to. I shared too, about my quiet nights in my apartment, the TV, my only company. Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing with my life, I admitted. Just going through the motions, not sure where I'm headed. Linda looked at me, her eyes full of understanding. You're young, Mike, but you're more mature than you realize. You've made me feel safe, and that's something I haven't had in a long time. When Ethan said he'd be back the next day, I felt a mix of joy and dread. Joy because my friend was coming home. Dread because I didn't want to leave Linda. That last night, we watched another movie, but neither of us was into it. Linda sat a little apart, like she was keeping a deliberate distance. When it ended, she stood quickly saying, "Good night, Mike." I watched her head upstairs, my heart heavy. In the dark of my room, I lay awake, wondering if she was thinking of me the way I was of her. When Ethan arrived, Linda and I greeted him with smiles and hugs. "Thanks, Mike," he said, clapping my shoulder. "You're the best friend a guy could have." I smiled, but guilt gnawed at me over the secret between me and Linda. Dinner that night was full of laughter, but our eyes met sometimes, carrying a silent understanding. When Ethan went to his room, Linda looked at me, her smile soft. "Whatever happens, Mike, I'm glad you're in my life." "Me too," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "We'll figure it out, Linda, no rush." She nodded, her eyes bright with trust. As I left, carrying my bags, Linda stood at the door, watching me. "You'll come back, right?" she asked. I smiled. "You bet. I'm not going far." Driving away, I glanced in the rearview mirror, seeing her on the porch, waving gently. In her eyes, I saw hope, and I knew our story was just beginning. Under the glow of Linda's porch light, I drove off, carrying a sense of peace and possibility. Our story didn't end here, it was just starting. A journey of trust, patience, and real feelings. Life sometimes takes you down unexpected paths, where two lonely souls find each other in the dark. Linda and I learned that sometimes the truest connections come from moments no one sees coming. Have you ever had a moment that changed your life? A meeting, a choice, a second that made you see everything differently? Share your story in the comments below. This is Hidden Tales, where we share the stories tucked deep in the human heart. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video. Join us as we uncover the stories yet to be told. Are you ready?